Hello, everybody. Ready for another Inkarnate live stream? Heck yeah, today we're making floating islands. No, not floaters. Come on, get your head out of the toilet. We're making floating islands. I'm excited for it. I hope you guys are excited for it. Hello, everyone. Hello, King Cloud, Your Majesty. Welcome. Welcome, everybody. We're making floating islands. I'm stoked. Fantasy regional style. Super cool. Let's do it. Welcome, everybody. Let's just jump in. I'm not gonna waste any time. Okay. Well, actually, you know what? Let's just do quick announcements because there is actually some fun stuff I would love to share with you. For starters, we just started adding clips from our live streams onto YouTube. Check the Inkarnate playlist or check the playlist on our YouTube channel called Inkarnate Clips. There's 3 now, but we'll be adding more throughout the week and as we go. It's sometimes a little bit easier to follow the little clips from a stream than instead of following the whole one. We understand people's lives, things are going on, children, school, work. I understand. Life keeps you busy. So these clips are going to be a little bit easier for everybody. Hello, Riddles. Welcome. I'm excited. Hello. Awesome. People are here. All right. So I think the only other announcement I really have besides Inkarnate Clips on our YouTube channel is that we're going to do an art release this month. I'm not saying what it is or when, but it's going to be released for Fantasy Battle Maps. Super exciting. First time chat. Hey, welcome. Nice to have you here. Author Ray Vanessa. I love it. Welcome. All right, floating islands. Let's do it. Oh yeah, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask Cheryl. That's SL Mumby, and we will get those answers that you're looking for. Sorry about that. Howdy. Welcome, everybody. If you have any questions, ask Cheryl. That's SL Mumby. She's going to be moderating the stream. All right, let's jump in. So, floating islands. Okay, floating islands. We do in the catalog. If you just press that O key and then the F key, you go into the catalog. And if you type in float, you're going to find floating islands. Okay, so we already have floating islands as a stamp. But you can also see that there is a baked in shadow into the stamp. So let me just show you right here. So you see this baked in shadow right here? So that can be a little bit of a problem when you're trying to create a larger island. It's going to have a lot going on to it because you're going to put a bunch of these islands together to create a larger island, right? And that might not look well. Let me go ahead and put a couple together and I'll just show you what I'm talking about. And there's nothing wrong with using floating islands. I use them all the time. But to create like a larger floating island like this, so now you can put some stuff on top of that. The way to go about that is you'll notice that there's all these shadows underneath here and they overlap, and that might not be something you're into. So we'll be able to address that. But first, yeah, floating islands work just fine. Now, if you want to create like some kind of platform to where something can be on top of this, because you see that it's not flat, there's a lot going on the top. You're going to flip over to clipping mask. O key, F key, open up that catalog, type in clipping mask. And it's a good time to mention this. If you don't know what clipping masks are, go check out Understanding Clipping Mask stream. That's right here on the YouTube channel. Go check that out. So we're going to use clipping mask, and what I'm going to do is put them on top of the islands. And then by doing that, I'm going to go ahead and change the shape. And we're going to piece a bunch of them together to kind of create a flat surface. So I'll just copy and paste a bunch of these. And I'm making sure that the soft part is not going outside of the island like this. And we're going to put a couple of them together. You'll see in just a moment. And then you'll have this kind of nice flat surface here. And you can add as you go. You can add in a bunch of them. Just depends. You want to say more space. Push it over to here like this. Now, of course, whenever you've put a bunch of stamps together, you're going to want to group it, of course. So group it. And then from there, you're going to want to pick a texture, right, to put on top. For me, I'm going to have it match that same kind of green up there. So we could go with any kind of a green texture. Let's just look at a couple, see what the options are. There should be a couple right here, like this one. And we can go to advanced settings. And you'll notice that that green is not the same kind of green. So HSB settings are perfect for changing a texture to fit with what you're trying to do, like this stamp right here. So we'll boost up the saturation. I'm going to just apply a stroke just to see what it looks like. And that's not the right color. It's kind of a yellowish green. So you can go into that hue and change that color like that. And let me just apply it. I'm going to remove the softness slider, full size, and go like this, okay? And so you have this kind of nice grassy green area right here. And now you can put whatever you want on top of that, okay? So now that you have that, so it's there, you can put whatever you want on top, right? So let's say that you want to put, my recommendation is first you want to continue trying to make it look like some of this is protruding outward. So let me explain that real quick. You have these floating islands here. I'm going to type in karst. And what's really hard with floating islands, in my opinion, is that it's making sure that the line right here, let me show you the difference between the top and the bottom part. So this transition right here between the bottom and the top part, sometimes that can look kind of wonky. And so you're going to want to place some stamps over that line to make it look like there's more dimension, a little more depth to it. Otherwise, it just looks like a weird flat surface. Good evening to you, Poppy Fox. Welcome. Love that name, Poppy Fox. Love it. So now if I take a karst like this, and if I place it on top like this, and I think also this looks a little bright, so I could drop the brightness down just a hair so that that brown kind of matches with that brown. And then what I'm going to do is just place them down like this on top. And the thing is, you want to put it to where you want to line up the line work. So the way that I go about that is you look at where I'm placing it, and this bottom part of the karst is going to matching with the line work from these floating islands. And we're going to place a couple of these to kind of make like a ring that goes around. So let me add a couple. Let me put one right here, maybe might look good. And then we'll put another one maybe over here. Let me see, make this a bit smaller. And you can change also a texture to make sure that this blends in more as well. So if I want, I can put this right here and then go back, look for a brownish texture that might look good right there. So let me add this texture right here, boost the softness, because softness is great for blending. So let's go ahead and make sure it's at the FG layer, and I just do a little bit like this, and it will kind of blend in. If you want, you can drop the opacity and change it to where you're doing a couple more single strokes to cause the blending to work better like this. It's up to you how you want to go about it. There's a lot of different ways to go to floating islands. This is just the first one. It's just obviously putting a bunch of floating islands together, putting clipping masks on top, and then from there you can kind of put buildings and stuff on top. So it's up to you how you want to go about it. I'm just going to remove that brown, just keep it green. I think it's fine just the way it is. We can add bushes, trees, all kinds of fun stuff. Let's go ahead and put something on top of the floating island. I think that's a good idea. So let's put some stuff maybe on top, like one right here like this. It looks like it's coming out of the mountain. Or this karst right here. We can boost the size of the karst too. And you can put that like right there, right on top. So it looks like there's a building right there. You can also do the same thing with this karst dwelling. You can put it right here if you want. And we'll make sure to put it up on the right layer as well. I'm going to put it farther down, like maybe right here. I kind of don't want it to have green overlapping the line work because then it looks weird. And then there's also this karst dwelling as well. You can put one right here. And then once you've done that, you can start putting stuff in the center here. So now you're going to have to be careful about clipping masks or about where something is in a layer. If you're wanting to put a building right here but have this karst and its buildings in front of that building, you're going to have to group it and push it up a couple layers. I'm going to do the same thing with this one, push it up a couple layers. We're going to check the layer of this thing right here. This is at layer 2. So then my buildings are probably going to want to be at layer 3 or 4. Now we're using kind of this Asian-like building, so let's just keep going with that same style. So we'll add a couple things on top, and then we'll move on to another island. I'm just going to use some big ones so I can place them down and see what I'm talking about. So it looks like it's covering it up. So if I put this one right here like this, you'll notice that it's covering up this karst right here, but also behind this one right here. So now you have some depth there. Let's add in a couple more structures, and then maybe we can add in a little bit of road, and then we'll call it good. So let's use maybe this eastern village right here. I'm going to put it right over here. And these are rather massive in comparison to these ones, obviously, so we can bring it down a little bit if we want. So it's not absolutely massive. So there's one there, one there. Let's add in one more building over here, and maybe we can build some other stuff. Let's see here. This castle right here might work good. Let me make sure it's not absolutely too big. And again, it's right behind here. And then from there, once you've kind of set that up, you can go ahead and do your road work. Now this is on a clipping mask, so you can change it to whatever you want. There are some cool pavement textures. They're basically roads. You're going to see two of them right here, pavement 2 and pavement 1. I'm just going to go ahead and choose, let's go with pavement 2. Okay, I'm going to drop down, I'm going to check the size to make sure, to see how big the tile work is. So if I look up, you'll see this nice kind of cobblestone pavement. I'm going to drop it down, make sure it's the right size, and I'm going to apply it. Let's go with something different. I'll show you guys the edgy brush. So we're going to use the edgy brush to make it look like there's some stone. And with a edgy brush, whenever you're using the edgy brush, I recommend dropping the opacity quite a bit because there is no softness, there is no soft edge. And so the edges will be, when you have it at a higher opacity, they're going to show out quite a bit. Let me just give an example just to show you. Let me just apply it. I'm going to bring this size down quite a bit because we're just making a road. Now see what happens when I apply like this. Oh, it's at 38, my mistake. Let's go up to 100%. Maybe do it one more time. So when I apply it like this, you see it kind of looks a little odd, and I like a little bit more transition with my road instead of just flat like that. So you want to make sure to drop the opacity down. Let's go with 27, that should be okay. And I'm just going to take this texture and first put it underneath all the buildings. That's the first step. So underneath all of these buildings, I'm going to apply this texture. Just for starters, because I kind of want these buildings to be built on a stone foundation instead of a grass foundation. That doesn't really make any sense, right? So I'm going to apply. Let's just do a little bit more too. Just a little bit more. 47 should be fine. We'll apply. I'm just going to do single clicks, and just underneath, wherever the building connects with the ground, that is where you're going to want to add that stone texture. Okay, so I'm going to apply a little bit, and then we'll get to that road. And this is what you should, this is what I do with pretty much all of my fantasy regional, or even with fantasy battle maps. I like to start with putting a foundation underneath all my buildings. Doesn't matter what map style it is. Now, once I've kind of added that stone ground underneath, I also want to create roads leading to each thing. So I maybe want to create a road that goes over to here, or have some of the road go leading into here. And make it a little bit smaller, and then I can have small little roads, maybe winding through here like this, some little roads connecting into here, a road leading over to here maybe. So that's generally how I go about with that, and just single clicking it like this, and that edgy brush, it just works really well for kind of blending. But again, just always make sure that you drop the opacity quite a bit. Around 30 or 40 is what I like to do. If that's not enough for you, if that's too much, you can bring the opacity back up. And that way, you can do less strokes, because too many strokes isn't for everyone, right? So just a couple strokes is what you're looking for. Just bring that opacity back up. So you have these roads here. You have this kind of a setup, and you have this general idea for a floating island, right? And so this is where I would start with, like this. Now you of course want to add in some shrubbery. I like to line my roads with maybe some grass or whatnot. So let's just do that real quick, and then we'll move on to the next one. So I like to line it and have it overlapping the road. And as always, I like to do this method of creating large ones first. I know I'm like a broken record. I'm always going to repeat this, but I always like to have varying sizes of grass or trees or whatever, because it just looks better that way. So we have large size. Let's bring it down a couple. And I like to cluster them. So if you have some large ones, put the smaller ones next to them. Because in nature, there's a lot of diversity in sizes. And if your bushes and your grass are all the same, it's going to look a little weird and kind of unnatural. So it's always good to just add in some size variation as you go with it. So I'll do that medium size. Let's go down one more size. So you have some small ones. And again, I'm lining the road, and it kind of gives it a little bit more character. And as you would expect, you would see some grass lining alongside of the road. So it looks kind of nice in my opinion. Let's zoom out and take a look. So it also kind of frames the road, making the road pop out more, and that looks kind of nice. So that's what I would suggest for that. You can throw in trees too. I would definitely throw in trees to make sure that, again, more overlapping. The more overlapping of stamps that you have, the better it is. Let's say we want to throw in these cherry blossoms just for the theme that we've had so far. Let's go ahead and boost it up, make it fairly large size, and just throw in wherever there's a negative patch of green. That's a great place to throw in your trees. So there's a patch there, and there's a patch right here, over here. Maybe have them lining a little bit, one in front of that castle there, one right here to kind of cover up here, one here, and one more over here. And again, you can do that whole variation of size thing, add in a couple smaller ones, variations. What I like to do, just makes it look nicer. And so you kind of have this nice little floating island here. Let's just zoom out and take a look. Yeah, that looks fine to me. You've got this nice kind of eastern kind of town or small village or whatever on this floating island, and it looks nice. And so after that, of course, group everything. And whenever you group something, it's always nice to label it, of course. So we'll just call it Eastern Floating Island, Eastern Floater. I'm sorry, Eastern Floating Island. Floating Island. Here we go. There we go. Awesome. Sweet. So that is that. So again, now the one thing that you're kind of dealing with is that once you've done the texturing, if you try to move the island around, you'll notice that the textures don't move with it. So unfortunately, you should always make sure that you have the island where you want it, where you want your background to be, and then you can go ahead and texture the top of the island. Okay, so that is what I would do. Always be sure to do that. Now you'll notice that there is some shadows underneath there, and those might not look good. So there are a couple ways to deal with that. One thing you could do is just take a color, take the shadows, and just paint underneath. Make sure it's at that BG layer. Press that 2 key, and you can just apply a black texture underneath like this to kind of hide it. Just know that you're still going to see the shadows, and whatever's underneath, pure black might look weird, but you can make it work. It's up to you, but that is how I would hide those shadows. Just whatever, just add in like this, just to hide those shadows. Or you can use the edgy brush to make it look like the shadows are a little bit more different. Let me go to history real quick, and I'll show you. Let me update, restore, remove that, go back to that brush tool, and just go to that edgy brush again, and turn that smooth off 100%. And if you go like this, you'll notice that the shadows are kind of hard edged like this, kind of making it look more like the island with the kind of sharp edges and stuff like that. And you can boost the size too if you want the edges to be a little bit bigger instead of smaller. So you can go like this, nice big edges. It's up to you. Up to you how you want to go about it. So that's that first floating island. Again, just using those floating islands. And we're going to be doing this kind of same method as we go with all the floating islands. So I'm going to go ahead and just delete this one. And I'm going to return the canvas back to its original color. And I'll apply it here. We'll look on the next floating island. Oh, I see a kind of a bug right here. Now, whenever you run into a bug, just make sure you go to that hamburger menu, hit Help, Chat, Support. Go ahead and type in, send us a message, type it in. And if this thing is still there and you're like, get out of my way, just click this button right here and it goes away. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and refresh the page. And we're going to go ahead and move on to the next floating island. And I'm excited about this one. And it's the same method as before. You're just going to use mountains or hills or whatever to create the main floating island. Okay, now this one is a bit more difficult than the last one because there's going to be more lining up of line work. And that can be kind of hard. So let's start with the next version. You're just going to take a mountain. And you're just going to flip it upside down, because there is the bottom part of your floating island, right? But you're not done yet. It's not as simple as just throwing a bunch of clipping masks. You also have to deal with a lot of weird line work. For instance, you'll see the line work right here and right here. Trying to make sure to line that up right might take a little bit of work. So we're going to combine a bunch of smaller mountains to create the sides. And then we're going to scale it a little bit, transform it with the transform tool, and then put some clipping masks within the mountain parts. And that's going to be the next part with a floating island. So let's fix that problem. And you can choose whatever mountain you want. If you prefer the let's say a snowy one, a green one, a dark one, whichever theme you want. We went with a green kind of lush one. Let's go with maybe like a dark or evil or undead or kind of a necromancer floating island. Let's go with something different. Okay, so now we have this. This is the bottom part. You can always transform it. That's with the height to kind of make it a little bit longer. But just know that whenever you're messing with the transform tool, if you go to extremes, you're warping the art quite a bit, and that can look really weird. So just kind of keep that in mind. Oh yes, stalagmites also work fantastic, and we'll go to there as well. We'll use stalagmites. First, let's just show the technique on dealing with erratic line work that doesn't match up. And so the way to fix that is to just combine a bunch of these together. And so what I would do is do this. Let's zoom in. You want to see what it looks like. Zooming in is really easy. Mouse scroll wheel, panning, hold down spacebar, click, hold, drag. So much easier than trying to zoom in with this kind of magnifying glass, the pan and zoom tool. I don't like to use that. I prefer the mouse scroll wheel and the spacebar. So let's deal with this line work problem. I'm just going to rotate this like this and make sure to kind of hide some of the line work. So I'm going to hide the line work for this one. I'm going to push it up a layer so it's above like this. I'm just going to add another one. I'm going to use a different one, and I'm going to add the line work like this. Okay, so now you notice that I'm starting to kind of make a little bit of a circle, and so let's add one more right here, and I'm going to put it below. No, I think that looks okay. And let's add another one right here like this. So now I'm kind of creating this circular space. All right. Hello, welcome, Dragon Spawn. Hello. Okay, so now I've kind of created this, and now I can start taking my clipping masks and start putting them down. So if you want, you can group this and then make this the front layer, or you can just add the clipping mask. So I'm just going to do that right now. Add clipping masks. Go to the catalog, type in clip. And I'm going to use the hard edge ones instead of the soft edge ones, okay? So I'm going to make it pretty big. I'm going to do the transform tool. I want to make sure that it's a layer below, like that. And we'll be doing more editing. This part right here is kind of in the way, and that kind of takes up some space on the floating island. So we'll remove that, okay? First, let's just transform with the width, like this. And we'll make sure that it's lined up. So I'll increase the size. There we go. Lining up, lined up, looks pretty good. All right, I'm going to add another clipping mask. It's going to be a soft one instead of a hard one. I'm going to push it up a layer, okay? I'm going to place it first, like this, and then I'm going to change that width and height again, bring it down, and go like this. And so that way I kind of have that space. Okay, so now you have your floating island right here made out of mountains. These dark mountains, and then from there what you want to do is to start putting, you can still ring this edge right here with more mountains if you want. I can go copy paste like this. Make sure to bring it down a layer so it's behind the clipping mask like this, and you can go ahead and just place a couple, copy and paste if you want, like this, so that it's kind of showing up there. And then you can also put some on the top as well to ring around the edge. So let's say I want to put one like right here, and put another one right here, one right here, one right here. We're kind of making this, we're kind of putting a frame of mountains around the clipping masks. That's kind of what we're doing right here, like that. So now you have this nice frame, and then you can also place some on top like this because we want to complete that frame. So let me put some right here. Oopsie. Make sure it's up a layer as well. My mistake. There you go. Put that right there. We'll put another one on there. Don't you worry. One more right there should look good. And maybe one even over here. We'll make it a little smaller. So you have this kind of nice, evil looking kind of floating island right here. I'm just going to go ahead and group that. All right, and I'll just label it. We'll call it dark or evil. See, all caps. What's going on here? Evil floating isle. And from there, you want to stick within the same theme, right? So earlier we did an Eastern theme. For this one, we're doing dark, right? So let's pick a texture that's going to go well with this. And I think there's one right here, I think. Wasteland brown. Let's apply it and just see how it looks first. FG layer, press that one key and just apply like this. See how it looks. looks a little too brown. So let's drop maybe the saturation, and let's drop the brightness down. Now let me just apply and just see how it looks. That's much better. There we go. So now you have this nice, dark, kind of evil looking island. Boom. And now we want to put some stuff on top of that. So let's go into that catalog again. And if you want, you can put a whole large, let's say a large mountain just on the side of it to give it a little bit more depth, because it just looks like a flat surface. So let's put a large mountain just right on top, right here like this. And maybe we can put some stuff around there. Just make sure that the line work isn't screwy-looey. So you don't want the line work to be protruding off of the island like this. You'll see how the line work over here is going off. You don't want to do that, so remove that. I'm going to take off this, add in one more, a smaller one like this. And this way you have a little bit more character with it. We can move things around. Let's maybe move this one over to here and move this over to here. I don't want it to be perfectly centered. See how this island, this mountain is kind of centered? I don't want it to make it perfectly centered. I'm actually going to offset it just a little bit because I actually prefer that. I try to avoid symmetry generally. It doesn't mean that you can't add symmetry to your compositions. You totally can, but breaking up symmetry is generally a pretty good idea. So I've added in these nice mountains right here, and so that acts as kind of something overlapping. Looks kind of nice. Let's go ahead and make it a little bit taller too. Increase the height. There we go. I think that works. And then from there we can start applying some fun things. So let's go check up, I think maybe evil. Let me check. I think it's here. Let me check. Dark Citadel. That's what we're looking for right there. And so we're going to use some of these stamps. If you want, we can make that Dark Tower of Sauron kind of setup. If you want, we can put that right on top, right here like this. So it's kind of up there like this. And then we can go ahead and apply some more structures to be in front of that. So you could put maybe this one up against here like this, or you could put this one right here. It's up to you which one you really want to use. There's a nice negative space right here. And I'm going to bring it down a layer because I want the mountain, this mountain right here, to be above it. And I realize now that this whole thing needs to be ungrouped. Let me just check to make sure. I'm going to ungroup it. There we go. Now I can go in and fix the problem that I just made. So the issue that I was experiencing was that this stamp right here was actually behind this one. So I'll make sure to boost this one up like this, and then I can put this small piece right here or up against here if you want. I'll boost it up a layer first. You can put it up against here if you want to make it look like it's attached to this if you want, or you can bring it down here. So really up to you how you want to go about it. I'm going to put it right here so it's kind of closer to the tower. And then we'll throw in a bunch of other little pieces. Let me take a look. Oh, I like this one right here. This is cool. There's some serious Sauron right there. Boom! So I could put that maybe like right here, or I can put it over here, or I can put it underneath if I want. Like I can put it maybe up against here if I want, against here. There's all these different options that you can choose from. Let's just go with some smaller buildings. Let's see here. This one right here looks good. I'm going to put that up against right here. Make sure that it's behind. There we go, behind that one. And let's add in another one. Let's see here. This one might work. This looks kind of nice. I'm just going to put it right up against here, like that. There we go. That looks nice. And then from there, we can add in lava. We can add in light sources. You can fill in the windows with the path tool with a red eerie glow. There's all these different options that you can go with. So for this one, again, just make sure that you have a theme. The last one was Eastern. This one was kind of dark, evil, citadel. And the next one can be something different. Floating elf island with a giant tree on top of it. Several floating islands that are chained together. So let's maybe do that. And let's just put the chained islands with this one. So I'll group it like this. And what I'm going to do is actually just make a smaller island. And they don't have to have anything on it at all. You can just place two mountains on top of each other. So let me just do that real quick. So I'll put that mountain and then put another one on top of it or underneath it like this. And so you have this nice island. Of course, there's some funky line work. So you can always change that by just adding this in like this. real quick. Let me just add it on top of there. And then from there, you want to change that height. And let's maybe even transform this like this. I'm going to copy, paste like this. And then you can even add in like some spikes. So you can put one down like this to make it look like there's some spikes coming out of it like this. And I often like to do that, add little spikes to make it look like it's coming out of it like this. And then I'm going to go ahead and make sure I just select this island and not this one. I'm going to group it and let's just boost up the size. We'll say there's nothing really attached to it. And then from there, you can make your chains or rope, or whatever it is that you want to use. I don't think that we have curved chains or anything like that. We only have straight chains. So you might either have to draw it, use rope from a different style, or use some kind of magic or something that kind of keeps them together. And so you could just take a couple of these. Obviously, I would make these varying and they're not all the same, but you can push it back and put some behind like this over here. You can put one in the front like this, copy, paste, put another one over here on the side. It's up to you. And if you're going to do that, I would make it, if you're putting something behind something, you can just drop the brightness like this to make it look like that island is not a part of this island and it's kind of separate. So I made it a little bit darker. And I can do the same thing with this one, only make it a little bit brighter to make it look like it's more in the foreground. This one, we can make it look like it's in the background. So let's drop the brightness. There we go. We just add a darker one over here like this and make it in the background. So there's an island back there. So that's how I would go about islands. Again, make sure you change the variation, like change some spikes, move things around. So that way all the little tiny islands around the larger island aren't exactly the same. That looks kind of weird. I didn't do that here, but you get the idea. You would just remove that one, add another mountain, and just change it with the transform tool. So that's how I would go about making multiple islands. We don't have curved chain. We only have straight chains in the fantasy battle map style. If you want, you can use those, and you can maybe try to bend them a little bit to make them, maybe like just add a couple of them, add a curvature to it. So that's one way to go about it. So there's a lot of different variations for that. You can use rope, whatever, but that is how I would go about with that one. Now, someone had mentioned stalactites, or I think it was stalagmites, not stalactites, my mistake. Those also work for great floating islands. So let's go ahead and just add those in, and I'll show you how to do that. You'll see the pattern is pretty much the same. Is pretty much the same, really. All I'm doing is just putting a bunch of terrain kind of stamps, mountains. Oopsie, and that looks like I need to go up real quick. I don't recommend using stamps like the mesas, for instance. I don't recommend using mesas because the mesa has a top space, has kind of a flat surface on the top. And if you put it upside down like that, then it doesn't look right. You technically wouldn't see that flat space. It would just be front facing. So I don't recommend using mesas for floating islands. It's just my suggestion. You can if you want, but it's probably going to look a little weird. Don't get dizzy. So let's go back here. So don't use those. Not what I would recommend, but stalactites or stalagmites, sorry, work fantastic for floating islands. Again, just flip it upside down. But again, there is one issue I will mention about stalagmites is that it does have a built-in shadow. Of course, if you put a bunch of them together, you can put a clipping mask on top of it to make it go away. But that's why I like to use the other mountains, because there is no clipping mask for the cars, or not clipping mask. There's no baked-in shadows for the mountains. For these mountains right here, there's no baked-in shadows for karsts either. But there are baked-in shadows for stalagmites. So keep that in mind. There's also this one, icebergs. There is a built-in shadow. You'll see there's a baked-in shadow when I add it. I try to avoid using those generally for floating islands, but you totally can. It's totally all right. If you want to use it, just hide them with clipping masks. Again, if you haven't seen the clipping mask stream, go check that out on YouTube, okay? I'll make sure to add a card when we put this stream to YouTube. That way it'll direct you right to it. So let's go with that stalagmite, and I'll show you how to hide those shadows just so you kind of get the general idea. Let's just add in a couple here to make a nice island. And you see there are those clipping masks. Now, what I can do is flip one. And what I want to do is direct all the clipping masks into the center, like here, like this, because I want to hide it. If there's a clipping mask with a shadow that's going out here like this, kind of going further out, or like it was over here, look at this one. You see how this goes outside quite a bit? That might be a little bit harder to hide, so just flip it to the shadows inside like this, and that way I can go ahead and just put clipping masks over it. This is a little flat, so I might want to consider rotating them just a little bit like this, so that way, and add a little bit more like that. So that way I kind of create that frame. Once you've done that, you can go in with your clipping masks, of course. I'm going to go with that hard edge like this, and I'm going to make sure to change the transform tool just like we did earlier. Oopsie, not height, my mistake. Width, like this. Okay. Now we're not going to hide the clipping masks quite yet, or hide the shadows quite yet. First, we're just going to add the clipping mask to make the top part, like we did, and it looks like the shadows are there. That's nice. And then from there, we can go ahead and add in a soft one and push it up a layer. So that way, it kind of covers up these shadows, because baked-in shadows are a pain in the buns. So I'll just go ahead and apply a couple here, and bye-bye built-in shadows. Hello, goodbye, gone forever, ha 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 ha. Works just fine. Of course, group it, and it's at layer 4. I'm going to bring it down to layer 1, because if I want to put stuff on top of it, obviously I'm going to want to paint the entire screen this way. Let's pick a texture. I think there's a brown one that might work well with this. Let me check. I think this one works. Just cover the whole screen. Make sure it's set to FG. Clipping masks are on the FG layer. Press enter. Now, no matter where I go, this texture will be there, okay? Now, it might look kind of odd to you, so there are some fun things you can do after this. You can add in more, and we're going to go and just drop the brightness down, and we're going to bring the layer down, and I'm going to put some underneath. And I've made them a bit darker because these spikes are in front of these ones. So I'll put this down like this. Let's add in another one right here like this, and add another one right here like this. Okay, so now you have a little bit more depth to it. We'll add another one right here. Let's flip it so it's maybe a little more straight, kind of like that. There we go. And so you have a little bit more floating island there. Looks kind of nice. And then you can add in other stuff as you kind of see fit. It's up to you what you want to put in. And so from there, and then you can just go ahead and put spikes or stalagmites on top, just like we did before. You know, you place a couple. This transition right here from top to bottom is always looks kind of funky. So make sure you go in and add a bunch. Let me flip, rotate, make sure the layer is up. Bring it up a couple layers because you want stuff to be behind it. And let's just apply one here, one here, one right here. And of course, you can add some to the back. You can line them all up. Let's do a larger one, one right here, here, one right. Oh, that's a bit big. Let's put another one right there like that. And then from there, you can go in and just kind of add whatever you want in that flat negative space, add in different textures as you see fit, add whatever it is you want. Let me bring it down a little bit so you can kind of see it. There we go. Nice floating island there. You can pick whichever texture works. If this doesn't work, you can go in and apply a different texture. Up to you. Maybe you liked this this one right here, but it's a little bit more brownish. Let me go ahead and just increase the saturation. There we go. Make it a little bit nicer. Let me apply again. There we go. That's a little bit better, in my opinion. Kind of it matches in better. And then from there, you can add in whatever it is you want. So there's a repeating pattern. Add a theme. Once you have the theme established, create the underbelly of the island first. The underbelly, that's this part right here. This is the underbelly right here. After you've finished the underbelly, apply rim or frame it, which is this part right here. Frame it with whatever stamps that you want to try to kind of hide that hard edge from the clipping mask. That can look kind of weird. That's the one step. And then from once you've done the frame on there, make sure you add some right here up at top like that. Then choose your clipping or choose your texture for whatever you want in this space. After you've done that, add in whatever little structures that you want to put in here. like this, okay? And then from there, add in your textures for roads or whatever, add in your shrubbery. Fetch me a shrubbery. Add whether it's a bush, a tree, whatever it is that you want to add. And so that's the general idea. That's the format that we're going to go. I'm going to do one more floating island, and then we'll be done with this stream. We're keeping it short today since the last one was pretty long. I hope that was helpful. So the next one that we're going to do doesn't actually require a clipping mask. Let's say that you don't want to use a clipping mask. Instead, you want to use something different, right? And so what we're going to do with this method is we're not going to add the underbelly first. With this method, we're going to add the stamps that we want to create the floating island, the flat top part. Now, we just added Babylonian stamps recently, and that's what we're going to be using. And we're going to be going with some cubes here. All right, now there is some of these very nice modular wall blocks, and these work fantastic when you want to put together some flat surfaces, and they look kind of nice. Oh, good, I'm glad it's helpful, Poppy Fox. No poppycock here, just Poppy Fox. So I'm going to place one, I'm going to copy and paste and make a bunch of them. Now, I used this method when I made my floating island time lapse on our YouTube, and I'm going to create a very simple platform that's going to be kind of a circle. Just think Minecraft. Just think Minecraft right now. That's what we're doing. We're doing some Minecraft right now. So I'm going to copy and paste these. First, I'm going to group. I'm going to copy and paste, and I'm going to make a 5x5 row. Okay, you're going to make sure that each thing is set to the right layer. So this is at layer 2. If I copy and paste and put another one, it's going to be right there. On top, let's take that same one, put it right here. I'm going 5x5. Okay, there's 4. Copy paste, one more, 5x5. There we go. Now on top of that, I'm going to add in a couple on the side like this. So I'll put one down. Let's just go up. Make sure I'm on the right layer. I'm going to complete the circle by just adding 3 on each end, and then from here we'll put the underbelly underneath this. So first, let's just copy and paste this. Copy, paste. Oopsie, I don't think I selected them all. One more second, I'll select them all again. Copy, paste. I'm going to group it. I'm going to put it down a layer so that it's right here. And then I'll make the next one. Let's make sure I got the layer proper. There we go. And then from here, like I said, we'll be putting the underbelly underneath that. So let's put this all together, because you won't know what the island is going to look like, the underbelly, until you make the top part. That's why I'm going with this first. Okay, first we're going to make a little diamond shape that's going to be flat. Copy, paste. I'm going to group it, put it up a layer, of course. Make sure it's in front like this. So now we have a nice little platform right here. I'm going to go ahead and group the whole thing and just call it surface for now. And then I'm going to keep it fairly large, because from here I'm going to go ahead and put the underbelly underneath. And I always like to have things fairly big, especially unless you're on a very busy map. If you have like a whole lot of stuff on your map and you don't want to accidentally select it, just so you know, there are these layers right here, and you can actually lock layers, and you can also lock options here as well. So what I like to do generally is to make all my background first before making the floating island. Once the background's been created, then you can just group everything and then lock it. And then from there, you can work on whatever the island you want and not accidentally select anything that's on the map, okay? And I like to scale it up so that way it's big and I can see what I'm working with, and then I can scale it back down to the proper size. So I've made the surface part. Now I need to make the underbelly of the floating island. And there are a couple options. You can use mountains, you can use karsts, you can use a lot of things. Try to not use things that don't have baked in shadows. So I'll use karsts first. Let's type it in right here, karsts. And you'll notice there's no clipping, there's no baked in shadow at all. Watch what happens when I place it down. Oopsie, we'll put it on top so you can kind of see there's no baked in shadow. That is extremely helpful in my mind, useful. I'm going to go ahead and just make my underbelly. Let's go just take some big ones first and put it underneath like this. Oopsie, we want to make sure it's below a layer as well. Naughty, naughty. There we go. And I'm just going to place a bunch. So I'll put one here, put one here maybe, one over here. Let's see, where else can I put some right there? And then after you've done that, you can go and add in more, bring it down a layer and drop that brightness just so you can have some showing in the background. So let me just bring it down one and put a couple in the background like this. They're a little darker. We'll add one here, add one right there, and let's do that. So now you have that. Okay, so that looks pretty good to me. Looks all right. Let me just take a look. Yeah, it looks all right. Let's drop the size down just to make sure that the under part looks okay. Now, the one thing you're going to notice about this, again, like I had mentioned earlier, was that you sometimes bump into this problem right here of the line between the underbelly of the floating island and the surface part. Just like before, you can just take a karst and just put it in front of that to kind of deal with that, or you can add in bushes. There's a lot of different things that you can use to try to mitigate this just harsh line right here between the underbelly and the surface. So there are a couple options. You can take a karst and just put it on top like we had did before. Let me just make sure the settings are right, remove the rotation. You can put karsts on top like this, just make sure that line work is right. You can do it that way. That's one way that you can go about it. The other one is that you can just use bushes. So this actually looks pretty good. It helps to mitigate it. Now, when you look at the line, you only see this line, and then this line, and then this line. And so that kind of helped to mitigate that. Now your eye's not going to go like this all the way across. There's some stops. Those karsts right there are going to stop the eye. And that's what we're aiming for. We want to make sure that that line is not just boom in your face and looks weird. So let's delete those karsts. Let me show you another method. You can also, oopsie, I did not want to delete that one. Oopsie. Let me undo all that. What am I doing? Ooh, the whole thing just disappeared. Now what is going on here? I wonder how that happened. That is bizarre. Let me go back in the history and see if I can fix that. If not, I'll have to make it all over again. Oh, nope, there we go. Sweet. Not sure what happened there. I probably just deleted it because I'm smart like that. Let's just go ahead and make sure that I delete these, and I'm going to delete those paths because I don't want them. We'll delete that one. There we go. Okay. You can also use bushes as well. I do feel that the bushes in this style also kind of are similar to this one. So you can take bushes, and this works well with karsts because karsts already have some green in them. So you can just place some shrubbery right here to kind of hide that line work if you'd like. And again, now you see the line work's kind of broken up. So whatever method, whatever stamp that you want to use to kind of break up that line is the best method. So just break that up. And then from there, you can add whatever you want on top of here. Since we've got Babylonian already as kind of the style, let's just go with some Babylonian stuff. We'll decorate it and take a look. Babylonian pack is amazing. I love it so much. I'll just go ahead and just throw in kind of a random structure here somewhere. Let's put one right here. I might have to change the layer. Put one there. And then maybe we can put another one. A temple over here like this. Ooh, that one is huge. He's so big. He's so big. Not going to work. All right, let's just maybe, oh, not desert. I'm saying that's not the Babylonian stuff. Though that is a cool pack. I love that pack. Let me take a look. There we go. There we go. Larger ones. And we're going to go ahead and put one right here. And then we can put one over here maybe. I don't want to use the same one, so I'll end up using a different one. Don't want to use the same ones. Ah, there we go. That looks nice. Put one right there. And then we can put like a fountain in the center. You get the general idea. Let's put this fountain right here. Don't want it to be so big that it just takes up the whole thing. That won't work. But maybe I can just put a fountain right there. And then maybe put a statue or something in the center of it. There's a little, maybe I can put this thing right here, right on top of it. Like that. And that's how I go about doing that. You can also decorate things as you see fit. Maybe you want to put some of these on each corner like this. You want to put these on each corner here. You can do that. Just think about whatever decorating you want to do, okay? Just make sure that you make the floating island part first, and then you can make the stuff on top. Once it's done, is there a way to plop this into a bigger map? There is not yet, but we are working on a kind of turning a composite stamp into a into a active stamp that you can move across stuff. So that's in the works. I don't want to say any more than that. So don't worry, your dreams will come true. And believe me, I've been advocating for this feature forever. It's one of the most popular features. It's turning a group into an official stamp that you can now move across maps. So I'm super excited about that. That's going to be super duper fun. I cannot wait for that, by the way. So keep your eyes peeled for that. That's going to be a big one. I'm super excited. So that concludes the stream. I'm going to quickly just let you guys know about one more stream that we have this week. It's going to be tomorrow, and it's how to create city blocks with the watercolor city style. I am super excited about this because I just love composing stamps together to create stuff. You notice that not yesterday, but on Monday, we had how to create points of interest with the fantasy world style. It's going to be similar to that stream where I'm going to have preset ideas of blocks, like a blacksmith block, a merchant's block, a theater district block, all the various blocks that we have that you would see in a city. We're going to be creating those, okay? I'm excited about that. So we'll be doing that. And if you don't know how to make like a whole city, then go check out how to create a village to a city stream on our YouTube channel, just in case you're kind of confused on how to put together a city, okay? So check out that stream on YouTube. I think it's a 4-part series. Pretty exciting stuff. Check it out. I think that concludes that. I'm going to go ahead and just check to see if there's any questions first. We got about 9 minutes, and then I'll answer those questions, and I'll take my lunch. And if you missed this stream, don't worry. I'm going to go ahead and upload it to YouTube. Super excited about that. I don't think I'll be doing any clips for this stream because it's really just a bunch of floating islands, so I don't really feel like we need to put clips from this one. But for videos like how to create points of interest, the clips work perfectly because we made little sections like a dwarven house or dwarven village, a human whatever. So those work great for clips. So again, next one on the 7th, that's tomorrow, we'll be doing city blocks, and you'll be expecting a lot of clips from that. If there's no questions, let me just check chat. Is there a feature request? Yeah, check out this feature request. Absolutely awesome. I cannot wait until we get this feature added. Is there any other questions that people have before we decide to take off? I'm super excited for this next stream. I cannot tell you how excited I am to make city POIs. I absolutely love making them. They're so much fun. I'm not seeing any questions. I know there's a 20-second delay, so I'll just wait a few. If there's no questions, then we'll call it good. I'm super excited. Thank you, everyone, for making it, and I hope to see all your lovely faces tomorrow for the next stream. Super exciting. I know it's been mentioned by Cheryl, but if you haven't, absolutely join our Discord server because our mentors and our users are so helpful. They will absolutely answer any questions that you have. Always glad to help. Everyone's friendly. It's safe. So go join our Discord server. Super exciting. I'm just so glad to have these streams exist. Absolutely. I love doing streams, by the way, Poppy Fox. Streams are so much fun. If you haven't, go to my profile and just make sure you check for the April calendar on my profile. That's Maddie's profile. If you go there, you'll see the full April stream. If you also check Discord, Discord has Discord events, and it's going to have all the streams there, so you can follow that way. That way, if you don't want to go to my profile and kind of look at the stream calendar, you can just use Discord instead. So go join Discord. Discord is awesome. Everyone's fantastic. Cheryl is fantastic. Your Majesty. All right, well, that looks like there's no other questions, so we will call it good. Thank you, everybody, for making it. Appreciate having you here, and I hope to see all your lovely faces tomorrow at the next stream. Now, take care, everybody. Merry map making, and please stay safe and healthy, okay?